Hey guys, and welcome back. Today what we have is an older kit. This is from Bandai. It is from the Starblazers universe, or the space battleship Yamato, and this is the space aircraft carrier. As you can see on the picture, if you're familiar with this series, it's just an aircraft carrier that was in their fleet. There's a couple of pictures of the build, the model put together. It's dated from 1980, so it's about 40 years old. The box is still in good shape, and the kit itself is in good shape. And very simple, basic instructions. And I'm not sure quite how I'm going to go with this. I thought about actually doing some modifications. This gentleman posted some pictures where he did some modifications to the flight deck and stuff. I may do something similar to that. I thought it looked really cool. Not sure yet. May just build it like it is. I may try to do a little bit of lighting, like do the engine lighting or something of that nature. Not really sure. This is one of those I have to build and get going to see, how feasible all that stuff is. Obviously the main body comes in two halves. I built one similar, the battleship that was like this, and one of the big problems is the seam line you're going to have when you join these two parts together. It's going to run right down the middle on both the top and the bottom of part of the ship. So I'm just going to get started and see where it leads me. Alright, so just working on putting some of the parts together here. Here I'm putting together the main hull of the ship, and it's a little tricky. There's no connecting tabs. You just have two flat edges that kind of connect together. So what I did was put on some of these rubber bands to kind of hold it all together, and then did some Estamilla thin cement and just run along the edges to kind of get it all in place and let it dry in there. So we're letting that dry, working on the bridge section of the ship, and adding the different pieces and working on some of the seam lines of it. Still quite a few pieces to add onto that, but we'll hold off on that. The two gun turrets that comes with it. Let's see if I can get this into focus here. They're a little tricky too. Like I said, there's no connecting tabs on these, so you have to glue the gun barrels on individually, and you just have to kind of hold them in place, and the same with the little fins that come off the back. So a little tricky kind of putting it all together, but it looks pretty good. So we're just working on that for now, and we'll just keep moving on. Alright, so here we are with our model. You can see I've been making some modifications to it. I got the body together, filled in some of the seam lines here with a little putty. And the direction I've decided to go is, I'm not going to try to light it or anything, but I am going to modify the body. And now this is the piece that's supposed to go on it. This is like the runway here, and it's kind of I just think we can do something a little bit better with that. So I've cut out just using some styrene plastic. I've cut out a piece here and kind of shaped it to it, and the plan is for it to fit on kind of like this and give us a little bit more dynamic looking kind of like landing runway, kind of like similar to what you'd see on an aircraft carrier. And I've modified a piece to go on the back, and this is this leftover piece from a Greebly. I think it was an accessory set model, and I cut it down, put it back on it, and I'm going to put that on there somewhere like that. And you see where I have it marked off, this square area right here. I'm going to cut that out. The plan is to cut this out and make like an elevator shaft going down, and we'll put one of the little fighters on top of that, and then we'll inset it downward a little bit. And then we've modified this part. Originally this was just kind of closed off, and we'll make it look like just like another type of runway or something of that nature. So that's what we're working on. Still it's kind of playing this by ear right now, but I'm liking it, and hopefully it'll turn out well. Alright, you can see where I drilled out just a series of holes around where I want to put my elevator shaft, and now I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and just kind of cut the rest of this out. Alright, cut that. Now we got the bulk of it out. Now from here I'm just going to take my knife and just start trimming it down. And then once I get that down to a certain level, I'll take a file and some sanding sticks and start getting all these sides nice and square. And just kind of working it gradually with my knife here to get it in that close type area. So you can see where I'm going with that. Like I said, we'll get some sanding sticks and some files and make that nice and square. Alright, I've added in my little shaft here, my elevator shaft or whatever it's called, onto my replacement landing deck. And I'm about ready to glue that in, so I'll be committed to this part once I do that. And I'm thinking about adding in some more detail. The side's kind of plain, not sure on that yet. But we're getting ready to start assembling most of it. This was the main part that was going to be modified. And hopefully it'll all come together. But we just we took some strip styrene and kind of built up a surface down here and then covered it up. I also added in a little piece here like there was a secondary deck that's already been lifted up. And that's hopefully will look good once we blend it all together and get it painted. Alright, here we are. We've had it mostly all put together. I'm gonna keep the gun turrets off to the very last, but we've installed in our deck and all the little greeblies, all the little different antennas. These are a little tricky to put on. They're just very loose fitting holes that give you a general direction where they go, so you have to kind of hold them in place, and it's a little tricky to get them kind of level and to where they look right. And the same thing with these bottom fins and tanks and stuff like that. There's just not a whole lot. They don't click into position, so you have to kind of glue and hold it. So we're going to just do a primer coat now, and then we'll get on to the main painting. Alright, I've added on just a coat of primer here, as you can see. Everything's looking pretty good. Get everything blended together now, all the parts. So now I'm just going to put on a base coat. Probably going to try to mix up something, probably a grayish blue color. And we'll put that base coat on, and then we'll come back after we get that on. Alright, I've added on our base coat, and this was just a kind of a mixture of grays and some blues to get this gray blue color. I can't quite tell you the exact amount. It's just kind of a trial and error until I kind of came up with this color. I have added in a few of the accent colors, some of the detail colors, and this is this some Automaster aluminum on a few places, the engine nozzles and things of that nature. So from here, I think we're going to try to paint this runway here, maybe like a dark gray, almost black color, so to give us a little separation of the colors, a little contrast on the model. Now the actual jets, when we go to add those on, I'm actually going to use some of the, I have some of these ones from, let's see if I can get this into focus. There we go. These are from the newer kits. They're more detailed. I have painted the older ones. Let's see if I can get that into focus. And they just don't have as much detail, so I may still use them, but I do have several of these newer ones that I've painted up, and I think they look a little bit better, so I'll probably have them more permanently displayed on the ship. So I'm going to work on painting the runway and doing some of the detail painting on the bridge and things of that nature. We'll put a clear coat on it. We'll try to weather it up, maybe do a wash or something to that effect. Alright, as you can see, I've added on a dark gray color to our landing pad here, and I've also applied a gloss varnish, and I just use this acrylic resin gloss varnish from Vallejo. First time I've ever used that, and I just mixed it in with a little bit of acrylic thinner and used my airbrush to put a coat to kind of protect the paint that we've already done. Now I have a lot of spare decals. that I keep from either projects that I didn't use the decals, or I've actually ordered some on eBay before to use on different projects. So I'm going to use some of the various ones. I do have a bit of a, if you can make it out right here on the very side, it's kind of hard to see, but there's like a little striped line, and I'm going to use that for the landing pad. Hopefully that'll turn out, and mix in a few other decals. From there we'll add in a light wash and start getting weather. But first thing is go ahead and get these decals on. Alright, I've added in some decals, which I think help a whole lot, and I've also started applying some of the wash. As you can see, it's still drying, and it's just a little of a black acrylic paint mixed in with a water alcohol mixed, very watered down. And I'm just going to let that dry into all the crevices, and then we'll come back and we'll clean off the excess. And from there we'll probably use some dry pastels, kind of darken in some areas, and then we'll do a matte varnish over the entire model. So I think it's starting to look pretty good, and but we're going to do those steps and then we'll be right back. Alright, so here's our finished space aircraft carrier from the Starblazers series made by Bandai. Now again, this is a 40-year-old model released sometime around 1980. And it came with all the challenges of a 40-year-old model. Lots of seam work, parts don't really line up, but it's a neat little model once you get it all together. And of course we made modifications. We changed the flight deck, made it a lot wider, and then of course we added in some extra jets to it. We finished off the model, we cleaned off the wash, we added some dry pastels and some of the panel lines, and then we used a matte varnish to lock everything into place. So overall, pretty neat little model. And this is a model I did earlier or a while back, and this is kind of its sister ship. This is the Space Battleship. As you can see, they're very similar in design. I did do a video of this one quite a while back. I think I originally painted it blue, more of a light blue. I've gone back and did it more in the gray color, obviously. And pretty neat. I think that this one's been remade by Bandai. It's a little bigger and a lot more detailed. Very nice. Hopefully I'll have that for too long. I believe it's their newer ones, 1/1000th scale. These are probably a little bit smaller in scale. Not sure though exactly what size they are. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, everybody have a good one.